Welcome to another exciting episode of
The Dungeon Crashers. I'm Guy.
And I'm Zapeel. Before we get started today, let's take a minute and let's hit that like and subscribe button. Also, let's get that bell on if you want to be notified when we release a new video. And now, with that said, let's get on with the build.
Well, last video we said we were going to do a creepy character with a voodoo priest vibe. And I think this won't disappoint. It's a character I've been wanting to play for a long time, but having been mostly dungeon mastering, I haven't got the chance. So I'm putting it together for you, and we'll save it to play later. We don't usually discuss backstories in these videos because that's between the player and the DM. But for this one I want to. I firmly believe that how a player visualizes their character determines how they create and develop it, more than any rules optimization considerations.
Yeah.
I see this as a lizard folk hermit who's isolated from his own people, living in the deep swamp, contemplating the mysteries of life and death, performing strange rituals and such. His own people sometimes come to him with news or strange occurrences, or to ask for his help with treating illnesses, or to purchase some potions, or trinkets of dubious actual worth, but otherwise they avoid him. One night after burning rare herbs, he has a vision that tells him he must travel to human lands where he will find a great destiny.
That sounds interesting. So what are we going with? A wizard, a diviner, or a necromancer?
No, actually a druid.
Huh.
Particularly the Circle of Spores druid. And some monk of the Way of the Long Death as well. It seems a strange pairing, but it gets the sort of abilities I picture him having.
Oh, okay. Well, you said it was a lizard folk, which is a great race for a druid. Maybe not as much as a monk, but they do get a wisdom bonus. They get a +2 to constitution and a +1 to wisdom. They also get a 1d6 bite attack and a natural armor of a 13 plus dexterity when you're not wearing armor. It's a shame you can't use it with unarmored defense, but the rules are pretty clear that unarmored defense is always 10 plus your dex plus wisdom. So even though you aren't wearing any armor, you can still only use one or the other.
That is unfortunate, but it would make lizard folk, monk, and barbarians pretty busted otherwise.
Yeah.
I'm actually wanting monk here more for the unarmed fighting and the long death features.
Okay. Lizard folk also get a crafting ability, which allows them to make weapons and armor from their dead enemies, and some extra skills from a short but useful list. You can choose 2 from animal handling, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. They also have a swimming speed of 30 feet and can hold their breath for up to 15 minutes.
Yep, those abilities already lend themselves to where I'm going with this character. I'm going to take stealth and survival. Both would help someone living alone in the swamp, and a stealthy character who can breathe underwater would be a deadly ambusher. For background, we're building our own. It's going to be the voodoo priest background, getting insight and medicine proficiency, and proficiency with herbalist and poisoner's tools. How good these tools are depends on your DM, and how he handles both crafting and downtime. Herbalist tools let you make antitoxins and healing potions, and poisoner's tools allow you to make poisons. Making poisons at full cost isn't really worth it, but if your DM is on board with it, he may give you a discount if you already have the supplies. After all, the biggest expense on making a poison would be the venom or herbs you need, and if you can acquire them for free, you could make them at a price that could be useful as a poison.
Yeah.
We're using the point buy for ability scores, and we're going with 8 strength because you don't need it for much, 14 dexterity, 14 constitution will be boosted to 16, 12 intelligence, 15 wisdom, which will be boosted to 16, and 8 charisma, again because you don't need it for much, and you're a bit of an antisocial hermit.
I noticed you put 12 on intelligence. Druids don't really need intelligence, do they?
Nah, not really. But both of your tools use it, and with guidance, you can be pretty effective using those tools.
That's true.
So now we're starting our first level, which will be Druid. You get 2 skills, and we're taking Perception and Nature. You speak Druidic, which is a special language that only Druids usually know, and you get Spellcasting. Druids get 2 cantrips this level, and we're taking Produce Flame and Shillelagh. Produce Flame will give you not only a good range damage cantrip, but also a light source, since you do lack dark vision. Shillelagh lets you use your wisdom for attack and damage with your quarterstaff. It's a bonus action to cast and lasts a minute without concentration.
That's good.
Druids are prepared casters who compare a number of spells from the Druid list equal to their level plus wisdom modifier. So at this level 4, you can prepare any spells on the Druid list rather than having spells known, but we will recommend some at each level, both to fit the flavor of the character and to make you effective in combat and out of combat. We're taking direct detect magic because it's a ritual and often very necessary, and healing word because anyone who can cast healing word really should carry it. And entangle because it's a really powerful at lower level spells, and it never really stops being useful. And Ice Knife because it's a good ranged area of effect damage spell. Really the only really good ranged area of effect damage spell at this level.
Yeah. If you find yourself as a role of a party healer, hopefully you won't, you could take Cure Wounds instead of one of the ones from above. Druids also get Absorb Elements, which is always a good thing to have. Since you are using Shillelagh, I imagine you will want a quarterstaff, and if you use it two-handed, it will be a D8 damage, and with Shillelagh, it will use your Wisdom modifier, which is pretty good in combat when you don't want to use a spell. What other equipment are we using?
Well, you really don't need much. We don't need armor, and we aren't using a shield. I'm going to carry javelins and darts. These aren't so much necessary in a fight. Produce Flame is a better range attack, but they will be good if your DM is working with you on the poison thing.
Okay.
Also, you can make them with your lizard folk crafting ability, and I think javelins and darts made from the bones of your fallen enemies is just cool.
Yeah. At second level, we're taking another level of Druid. Druids get Wild Shape at this level, letting you transform it into a beast shape twice per rest. At this level, you can change it to a beast of a challenge rating of a quarter that doesn't swim or fly. This improves as you level up, but unless you take the Moon Druid, there won't be a great combat, but however, they are good for scouting and traveling.
Yeah. We also get our Druid Circle at this level, and we're going with Circle of Spores. This circle is concerned with the cycle of life and death and relates to fungus and molds the same way other druids do to beasts and plants. You get a halo of spores, which is a cloud of invisible spores, which are harmless unless you use your reaction against a creature that either moves into or starts its turn in a square within 10 feet. Then you can deal a d4 necrotic damage to them, unless it makes a Constitution save. And this damage increases as you gain druid levels. You also get Symbiotic Entity. You can spend a use of your wild shape to awaken your spores. It gives you 4 temporary hit points per druid level. And while you have these temporary hit points, your reaction damage from Halo of Spores, you roll the dice twice and add them together.
Oh, okay.
You also add a d6 damage to every melee weapon attack you make. And natural attacks and unarmed strikes do count as melee weapon attacks. So this works with your bite as well. This lasts for 10 minutes until you lose all of the temporary hit points.
Druids also get circle spells, which are always prepared, and you don't count them against the number of prepared spells. You don't get any spells at this level, but you do gain the Chill Touch cantrip, which is a great range damage cantrip that also prevents healing and is extra nasty against undead. At third level, you gain second level spells. Your circle spells are Blindness, Deafness, which is one of the best low-level spells to weaken an enemy, and Gentle Repose, which prevents a body from decaying for 10 days. This also makes those days not count against the time for Raise Dead spells, including Revivify. Getting this for free is great. Almost anyone who can cast Revivify prepares it every day because you can only use it on someone who has been dead for a minute or so. And you can't take a long rest to prepare it. However, with this, you can use Gentle Repose on them, and all the time you need to bring them back with Revivify. This can actually be used multiple times, so you can keep your dead friends' body fresh indefinitely until you find a way to bring them back from the dead. Other good spells to prepare are Augury, which is one of the best divinations available at this level and is a ritual. Healing Spirit is better than an upcasted Cure Wounds would be, and would be useful in combat healing. Summon Beast lets you summon a beast that can look however you choose and will fight for you. Its abilities depend on whether you choose land, flying, or a swimming beast. All forms are in the spell description, and all of them are pretty good.
And at fourth level, your wild shape improves, letting you do half challenge rating beasts that can have a swim speed. Some of these are pretty good, but you'll still be better off using your wild shape for your symbiotic entity.
Mm-hmm.
You gain another cantrip at this level, and we're taking guidance. This will help with your crafting and generally make your whole party good at a lot of things. You also get an ability boost, which you're taking for dexterity, just in time to multiclass into monk. At 5th level, we take our first level monk. You now add your wisdom modifier to your armor class when not using armor or a shield. With your dex and wiz both at 16, this will give you 16 armor class. You also get unarmed fighting, making unarmed strikes deal a d4 damage, and unarmed strikes and monk weapons use your dexterity for attack and damage. Javelin, dart, and quarterstaff are all monk weapons. Monk weapons also do at least as much damage as your unarmed strikes, so they get better as you level up. You also get to make an unarmed attack as a bonus action after taking the attack action. Your bite is an unarmed strike, so it should count and use your dexterity, but talk to your DM about that. Also, your unarmed strikes get to add the damage from your symbiotic entity ability.
Oh, okay. At 6th level, we're taking our 2nd level of monk, getting key points. You have one of these per monk level and can use them in a variety of different effects. You can spend one on a flurry of blows, allowing you to make 2 unarmed attacks as a bonus action instead of 1. You can spend one on patient defense, allowing you to use dodge as a bonus action, which can be great against an enemy that deals really good damage. Or one on step of the wind, which lets you disengage as a bonus action, which might be even better if you're fighting an enemy that does even better damage. You just run away and use a spell or cantrip, or even throw a javelin. Your jump distance is also doubled for that turn. At 7th level, we are taking our 3rd level of monk. We get deflect missiles, letting you reduce damage from an incoming missile by a 1d10 plus your dex modifier. And if you reduce it to 0, you can throw it back as if it was a monk weapon. We get to choose a subclass, and we are taking the Way of the Long Death. As the name implies, these monks are fascinated with death. At this level, the ability it gives you is Touch of Death, which lets you gain temporary hit points equal to your Wisdom modifier, plus your monk level, every time you reduce an enemy that's within 5 feet of you to 0 hit points. This doesn't say that it has to be done with an attack. As long as it's within 5 feet of you, you can make it a spell and you still get this ability.
Right. And one thing is that these temporary hit points don't add or recharge the ones from your symbiotic entity. In fact, these would replace them and add it in your symbiotic entity effect. Fortunately, you can choose not to use this while your entity is active. But between the 2 abilities, you will always have a source of temporary hit points, which is really nice. And at 8th level, we'll take 4th level monk, getting an ability boost that we're using on Wisdom. This will improve armor class, save DCs, and our attack and damage with quarterstaff due to Shillelagh. You also get Slow Fall, letting you use your reaction to reduce falling damage by 5 times your monk level.
It's always helpful.
And at 9th level, we're going to take 5th level monk to get extra attack. Now, combined with Flurry of Blows, this will give you 2 quarterstaff attacks, plus 2 unarmed attacks, which could include your bite. And with your symbiotic entity, each of these will get an extra d6 damage. This will let you do a lot of damage really quickly.
You also get Stunning Strike, which lets you spend a key point to force someone you hit with a melee weapon attack to make a Constitution save or be stunned until the end of your next turn. This is really helpful and can just end fights right then. We did that to a big boss in our last campaign. I hit him with a Stunning Fist. He was stunned until the end of my next turn, and we finished him off.
And he was a really big boss.
And he was a really big boss.
But you get advantage against stunned opponents. So
right.
The Rogue and the Great Weapon Master were loving that.
Yeah. At 10th level, we take one more level of monk, getting Key Empowered Strikes, which lets your unarmed strikes count as magical for overcoming resistances. Since Shillelagh makes your staff magical, most of your attacks already ignore resistances. From your Long Death subclass, you gain Hour of Reaping, which is an action that makes any creature within 30 feet of you frightened of you until the end of your turn, unless they make a Wisdom save. Now, you have to remember that it also affects your allies, so be careful when you use it.
Yeah. Whether having your allies afraid of you is a bad thing or not depends on the encounter, but it's best if you don't hit them.
Yeah.
At 11th level, we go back to Druid for a while. Your circle spells are Animate Dead, which gets you a zombie or skeleton to follow you around and fight. And Gaseous Form, which is just all around good spell. You can get a lot of creative uses for that. Other good spells this level are Revivify, which you might not need to repair because you have Gentle Repose, but it's great to have. And you get to spell Magic, which is always useful. An Elemental Weapon, which does require concentration, but combined with Flurry of Blows and your symbiotic entity can really crank out some damage. And I think a staff doing necrotic and fire damage is pretty cool.
It is.
But Conjure Animals is the real gem at this level. You get a number of beasts that help you fight. You can have 8 challenge rating quarter beasts, which could be giant poisonous snakes, constrictor snakes, giant frogs, etc., which will definitely help in a fight. You can get 4 challenge rating half creatures, which could be crocodiles or giant wasps, 2 challenge rating 1s, which could get you giant spiders, toads, or vultures, or 1 challenge rating 2, such as a plesiosaurus or a giant constrictor snake. Both of them are really tough creatures that are challenging.
At 12th level, we're taking our 6th level of Druid. Your spore damage increases to a d6, and the number of times per day is equal to your wisdom modifier. You can use a reaction to animate a beast or a humanoid that dies within 10 feet of you as a zombie with 1 hit point, and that lasts an hour. It uses the zombie stat block and takes its turn right after yours. At 13th level, we're taking our 7th level of Druid, getting 4th level spells. Your circle spells are Blight, which is a pretty good single target damage spell, and Confusion, which can really mess up enemies' plans. Other good spells include Divination, which is a ritual, so you could always have it prepared. Guardian of Nature, which can really make you a melee powerhouse, and Conjure Woodland Beings, which is like Conjure Animals, except you can also get fey creatures. At a challenge rating quarter, you can get 8 sprites. At challenge rating 1, you can get 2 pixies, which are great. And at CR2s, you can get a Sea Hag, which has good damage and a pile of hit points. There are, of course, other good fays as well.
Right. And at 14th level, we take 8th level Druid. Our wild shape improves to CR1 beast, which can now fly. We also get an ability boost, which you're going to use on dexterity. And then at 15th level, we're going back to Monk for 2 more levels. At this level, we get Evasion and Stillness of Mind. Evasion lets you take no damage on a successful dex save and half on a failure. And Stillness of Mind lets you use an action to end any effect that is making you charmed or frightened. And at 16th level, we take our last level Monk for an ability boost, which we're going to use to cap our Wisdom modifier, making our save DCs and armor class better.
At 17th level, we're taking our 9th level of Druid, getting 5th level spells. Your circle spells are Cloud Kill and Contagion. Both of these spells fit the creepy flavor we were going for with this character, but aren't very good spells if you have to prepare them. But they can be good in the right situations, and you get them for free, so there's that. Commune with Nature is another excellent ritual that you should prepare, and Wrath of Nature is fun, flavorful, and effective, turning the environment around you into a weapon that can crush your enemies. Mass Cure Wounds and Insect Plagues are also good choices. At 18th level, we're taking our 10th level of Druid, and from our circle we get the ability whenever our symbiotic entity is active to create a 10-foot cube within 30 feet of you that deals your Halo of Spores damage to any creature that enters or starts its turn there. You can't use your Halo of Spores reaction while this is up. Your Halo of Spores damage also goes up to a d8. You also get another cantrip here. Anything will be fine. I like Thorn Whip.
At 19th level, we take 11th level Druid. You don't get any circle spells at this level. You do, however, get Heal from the 6th level list, which I think the best at this level, but some of the other options are interesting. And at 20th level, we're going to finish with 12th level Druid for an ability boost to cap off our dexterity. And I'm pretty pleased with how this build worked out. You're good in combat and have a number of good spell options and abilities to control the battlefield and neutralize your enemies. You also have a number of good divination spells. And so outside of combat, when taking a rest, you can be performing ritual divinations to guide your party. You can also heal well both in and out of combat. Your wild shapes are good for scouting and bypassing obstacles. I'm looking forward to when I get a chance to play this, and I hope some of you will draw some inspiration from it.
Yeah, I'll have to be in soon so you can take it.
Exactly.
I don't know if I want you playing this character while I'm DMing. Well, we hope you enjoyed this build. If you have any questions or comments, or if you have a character build that you would like to see us do, please leave it in the comment section below. We're always looking for something new that we can use. Plus, it's some good audience participation. Next time, we'll be making something new to this channel. No multi-class, and it's going to be a caster. All the way up 1 to 20. So that's first for us, as you can see on our previous builds. So until next time then.
Cheers.